You're listening to Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. Small town feel with big time ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Allard.
Well, it's another great week in Johnson County, Burleson, Crowley, etc. I have Sarah Kyle Ross here today with Kindred Montessori Academy. We're going to talk about her first semester in operation, and we're going to talk about the upcoming semester and the future plans and things of that nature. So how did it go?
Hey, it's been going great.
A little close on the mic, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
It's been going great. We've had great success so far. We have 14 students ranging from 18 months all the way to second grade. 6 of those are brand new to us in January. So we had a big enrollment boost come January. And we're really excited for the future.
Well, we're going to talk about all the ins and outs of Montessori style education. And also, I have a couple of questions kind of off the chart a bit about the impact that vouchers may make for you.
Yeah.
And because, a lot of people mistake vouchers. I think you're getting the money, but it's the parents that are getting the money. And so that's going to, certainly give your parents more opportunity, shall we say, for enrolling in your school. Here, I'm just sharing all this business with everybody so everybody can find out all about this. One more, and there you go. Okay, so before we jump into all the Montessori business, let's talk about our sponsors because they make it possible. Our Place Restaurant, of course. I was there last Thursday morning, and the usual great service, as always. Also, Otto is going to be on the show tomorrow. I haven't had him in a couple of years. So, Otto, if you're listening, we would like pizza. I like pepperoni, if you don't mind. What, Josh, what kind of pizza you like?
Pepperoni's fine.
That's good. Well, I like this.
About a pickle pizza.
Yes, I know. Melissa Miller keeps hammering me about that. I'm actually going to be at Gina's tonight with a buddy because my wife is having some ladies over. So, in other words, I got to get out of the house. It's going to be some sort of ladies' prayer meeting, and they want to talk about our husbands and that kind of thing. At Gina's Pizza, though, I'll be there. The ball game, the Indiana and Miami game will be there. Who do you think is going to win, Josh?
Indiana.
There you go. How about you? Do you have a pick, or do you care?
No. Not this time.
Not this time. Do you have a college football team you follow? Don't say A&M, please.
Why not?
Because there's only one worse school than that for me, though. UT.
Okay, well, we can agree on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is it? Is it A&M?
Well, my husband was named after Kyle Field.
Oh, my Lord.
But my family is TCU all the way.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
I'm just surrounded. Okay, fine.
I don't follow TCU anymore, but I grew up bleeding purple. So.
Oh, my goodness.
But I went to North Texas, and UNT is a great school.
Yes, it is. Well, anyway, back to what Otto's paying for. Gina's Pizza tonight for the ball game, and it's great for any of these events. It's a good atmosphere to go do business in. That's where I do a lot of my B&I and podcast-related business. Also, thank you to John Williams at Old Pro Roofing, 817-734-2756. I'll say that again, 817-734-2756. Now, supposedly, or is it supposedly? I don't know. I never could get that straight. We're going to have bad weather this weekend. I am a weather agnostic. I really don't know if weather exists. And if weather exists, it needs to prove it to me. But they're supposedly going to have bad weather. And so you want to make sure your roof's in good shape. I have John check my roof out every year, and it doesn't cost you anything to have them come out. And you really do need to have them come out because if there is some sort of repairs that the insurance company can claim as old damage, they're going to make that claim, and they're going to make your claim very difficult to move forward. So you need to have somebody like John to come keep track of how well your roof is doing. He came out for me about 5 months ago, said you're good to go. You didn't no upsell, no, oh my Lord, I don't know how you kept the rain out kind of routine. It's just, I'll tell you the truth. So again, 817-734-2756 with Old Pro Roofing. Old Pro also, I like it. They're here in town. Old Pro is about a block from City Hall, and so you know where to find them. If you need to call them, if you say, hey, I got a problem in a hurry, Old Pro is right there. So there you go. Also, my friend Jeff Kelly, 817-781-0546. With the Wethington Agency, you're going to buy, you're going to sell, you're going to move to Burleson, you can move to anywhere in Johnson County. He can help you with that. And he has several homes that he's listed, and they're for sale. They're all for sale. And so it's a great deal. He knows what he's talking about. So Jeff at jeffkellyrealty.com. And also kind of semi-related. Their local loves is the real estate issue on Tiffany's magazine, Local Life, and so he asked you to vote for him for favorite realtor. Also, my friend Rich Hooper, 88.3 The Journey. It's a nonprofit, so it's never too soon to start on that tax deduction for 2026, which I don't know. But taxes, that's why I got to call into my guy, John Stanley, because taxes have changed since I last talked to him. But y'all are a nonprofit too, right?
We are,
Okay.
yes.
So if people want to just drop some money on you, it's tax deductible too,
It would
right?
be, yes.
And do you have donors like that, do you? I hope.
We do have several donors that are supporting us. We have one that supports one initiative we have, which is Bridge the Wage Gap. And so we have a family supporting one of our teachers so that they can have a more living wage. It's fabulous.
Well, that is good because I know in the private sector, particularly in smaller schools, this is a labor of love, not a way to get rich quick.
Correct.
And that, the quality of your childcare, that's what I meant, childcare and whatever else, it suffers because of a lot of turnover in this. I mean, a lot of people get into it and they want to do right and do good.
Right.
And then here comes the bills,
Yeah.
and it's just, they're forced to choose between what they love to do and what they have to do.
Right. Yeah. So right now, currently it's myself and I have 2 teachers and a third that's joining us soon. And both of the teachers have been with me since the beginning, since August, and they're highly devoted to our students and to our mission. And so we were really blessed when a family came forward to support one of them to ensure that this teacher is able to support family well.
Right. Now, the teachers that you hire, these 2 you have, one that's coming, these aren't just, they're not volunteers. These are teachers.
No, these are teachers. They're staff.
Yeah, they're accredited by the state.
So we do have 2 teachers who are public school educators, certified. One is fully Montessori certified. She's our elementary teacher. We are we have an elementary program currently, and we are working toward an initiative to start a half-day elementary program. And so we've been rolling out initiatives for that and enrollment to support building that program up for the spring.
Well, as far as the school, though, this is accredited. Are you going to have
We are working toward accreditation.
But you said you're going to get a visit this week, in fact.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm sure you'll pass.
Thank you.
Because I know enough about your program to know that we're not talking about daycare here. We're talking about an educational process.
Yes.
And to advance kids through to the higher grades. So this isn't, this isn't a place to put kids just for, cookies and Kool-Aid and, play with blocks, right? This is everything would be getting in a public school or a private school system. It just, the Montessori system is a little bit different.
Right.
And for a lot of people, Montessori, like for myself, even an experienced educator, Montessori is kind of a distant topic for us because I never taught elementary, thank the Lord. You have to be nuts to teach elementary, but that'll be another conversation.
Hats off to me.
Yeah. Right. But what is different about the Montessori education that somebody would receive as opposed to, say, Branson or Stribling or something like that?
Yeah. So Montessori was developed over 100 years ago by Dr. Montessori, and it is a scientific-based pedagogy that focuses on teaching children interest-based learning through hands-on academics. And so children are taught through concrete materials. The environment is their first teacher. And so children are taught through what is on the shelves, through the guide. We call ourselves guides, actually, because we are facilitators of their learning. And we approach teaching in a way where children are leading us toward what they are interested in. So we do have a scope and sequence, and we follow a child's developmental stages, but it is very scientific based and supportive of the child's needs.
Well, see, a traditional teacher like myself, we think of education pedagogy as like, you take certain steps towards a certain goal, and those steps are pretty much universal for all the students.
Right.
Montessori is basically more individually based.
It's
right?
very, yes.
Right.
Yes.
But people shouldn't get the idea, though, that it's like the kids are allowed to wander around and just,
No.
I mean, they are going to be taught how to read and
Yes.
and write and,
The
and
difference,
add their numbers and
absolutely. The difference is that in our classrooms, you may find a 3-year-old who's reading words because they were showing interest in it. And so we've supported that interest. Or you may find a 6-year-old who wasn't ready to read yet. And that's okay too. They're still going to have the exposure to that practice and that support. The classrooms are mixed ages. And so you have children that are 18 months to 3 years old around mixed in one classroom, and then 3 years to 6 years old mixed into a classroom.
And that's pretty significant age differences, though. I mean, for me, if you have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old are, various stages, stages of development. And I think back to my childhood, I always read, and I always felt like I always knew how to read. I don't remember being taught this is what A, B, C sounds like, but somebody must have had to do it. I mean, I'm not a natural genius. I'm not Sheldon Cooper. You know that reference there,
Yes.
Josh?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'm not reading Finnish at the age of, 5. But I just always remember reading. And there's
Sure.
always books in my home.
Yeah.
And, but I just wonder, how do you manage that gap between a 6-year-old who hasn't really learned how to read yet and a 4-year-old who's probably reading Shakespeare?
So the difference is the environment. The materials are there on the shelf ready for the teacher to use and to support. And so in Montessori, a child is introduced to different activities on the shelf that support their needs, whether that's academic or social or emotional. And the Dr. Montessori spent years developing her system to support those. And really the mixed age group supports the need for mentors in the classroom as well as leaders in the classroom. And so our 3-year-olds look up to our 5 and 6-year-olds, and the 5 and 6-year-olds feel a sense of accomplishment because they've gone through what their peers are going through now and can support.
Well, I see that it has some real value in it because I would always think one of the hardest ages to teach in the public system would be like kindergarten, because you're going to have kids come in who aren't even potty trained and other kids that are, well advanced and, how to count and read and all this other stuff. And they got to handle all those different age groups.
Exactly.
But see, in your system, it isn't, they're in kindergarten because they're a certain age. They're in kindergarten because that's where their development is.
Yes.
But moving forward, some kid in the 2nd grade who may not be 2nd grade level yet is going to probably have a sense of inferiority because he's not keeping up with his peers. Montessori tries to avoid that, does it not?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I just, I wasn't a Rhodes Scholar or anything like that, valedictorian. I was a pretty good student, but I had acquaintances in high school that couldn't keep up, and it really sent them off in a different direction, you might say. The Montessori system, is it strictly for younger ages? I mean, is there an age limit to it?
No, not at all.
So
Actually,
you could have a Montessori high school?
There are
Okay.
several in Texas that are Montessori high schools. And, our goal at Kindred is to follow what the community is wanting and hoping for. And
Well, let's look at some of this here on the screen because Josh threw it up there. And,
no, these are great.
Yeah. So you can talk about the core principles here.
Yeah. So child-centered learning, it's geared towards the child's interest and pace, like I said, and then hands-on materials. Intrinsic motivation is really important in a Montessori environment. It's what supports the child's learning and educational pathway. We aren't externally rewarding children, so there's not sticker charts or grades even in the traditional sense. Your motivation is the desire to discover and to learn.
Well, a lot of children don't know they have this at a younger age. It's something their parents, I guess, will have to kind of diagnose for themselves. But as far as like external rewards, I'm not going to, debate that point. But I know it motivated me a little bit to have my teacher give me, a sticker on my paper or whatever, or a little star or check or very good or whatever. So how does a child feel like they're making progress if it's all intrinsically motivated?
Yeah. So the accomplishment is based on on completing a work. So it's on supporting the environment. It's on supporting themselves and knowing that they're getting to the next stage of their process. So in the classroom, the work is sequential, and it's supported by a step-by-step process. And so children can see that there is a next stage of development to get to. And so that's what they're motivated to do, is to get to that next thing.
Well, I could see why maybe like a public display of check marks or stars or, whatever on a board or whatever could be demoralizing as well if you're at the bottom of that list.
Sure. Yeah.
But so I understand that, but I just wonder if we're going to be intrinsically motivating a child, I just wonder how we encourage that and make them feel, or she'll feel like, I'm making progress, and the parents feel the same.
Yeah. So praise is specific. It's not, we try not to do just good jobs. It's more of a value of their work that they've done. So we may say like, I see you used a lot of color in that drawing, or you've built a tall tower and a short tower. Like we're identifying the work that they put in and not the effort that they exhibited. And then also just to let you know too, is that as children are transitioning from a public school environment into a Montessori environment, we understand the process that goes into that. And knowing that children that come into our environments as a first grader or a second grader, they're going to have a built-in like extrinsic motivator that just based on being in public school. And so we support that development and that need to transition into a more intrinsic motivation. And so we understand that it's a process.
Right. And I'm looking at some of the other core principles. You talked about the prepared environment. The classroom's designed to promote independence and focus. So we're not talking about sitting in a chair or seat very often, I would imagine.
No, not at all.
Or a desk or something like that.
No, children are able to choose their work, and we allow them to choose the space that they work in. And so you actually will see in our classrooms that there's only a few tables available because children can choose to sit on the floor or at a table.
But they're not given traditional assignments. I mean, if they said, "Hey, you could do what you want," I'd be playing with Tinker Toys, which it has value. Okay, I mean, playing with toys, creative toys like Lincoln Logs, Tinker Toys, whatever, has some value to it. For my son, I remember we had bought extensive amounts of Thomas the Tank Engine because he would make all sorts of different designs, and it was and that's an educational experience. But it's for somebody like my generation to say, well, the kids will choose how they learn, what they want to learn. It sounds like they're just kind of wandering. Is that there has to be some sort of direction? Yeah,
there is. So the teacher provides lessons throughout the week from the different curricular areas. And so a child will have a lesson in language and math, and we call our science and history is called culturals. And so they are provided with a lesson in each of those areas of the classroom. And the expectation is that when you're invited to a lesson, the child does have the opportunity to say, not right now. But the expectation is that the guide is going to come back and say, hey, we're going to do this lesson. You can do it now, or you can do it after you've done this next work. So it's not a like no forever. It's a no for now. It provides that intrinsic motivation that we're trying to support. It provides them with that ability to grow that and to build that development. Now, the guide is not going to allow a 4-year-old to say no every time. It's more about teaching them how to develop their sense of their sense of support in their process. So my teachers and we will say something like, we're going to do a math or a language lesson today. Which would you like to start with? And then the child can choose one or the other. And then,
but they will do the other one.
They will do the other one. So it's not it's not we're just going to do one or the other. It's like, we're going to start with this one, and then later we'll do the other one. In a Montessori environment, it's not the same as a traditional classroom. You're not having a math lesson every single day and a language lesson every single day, because it's one-to-one. So very similar to a homeschool environment, you can move quickly through the lessons, especially when they're more interested and engaged in what you're teaching.
So I guess I'm taking the role of old curmudgeon, public school teacher, because, and all my experience was with a traditional classroom. I had 3 years in a private school, but it was taught, like every other class. It wasn't nothing like you described. It's very regimented and whatever else. But, you move up the grades after you show sufficient progress, hopefully, or, sometimes they just bump you up there because they're tired of you being in the third grade 5 years and that kind of thing. But if you don't have, well, let me rephrase. What method do y'all use to evaluate whether this child is ready for the next level?
Yeah, so our Montessori scope and sequences and the curriculum that we have, which is a curriculum, provides you with objectives. It provides you with direct and indirect aims. And so the guides know what is expected of the children.
Can I interrupt right here for a moment? You haven't said teacher hardly once. You always call them guides.
I do, yes.
Okay.
So teachers or guides.
Well, I mean, I know you mean the same thing, but it's teachers make it sound like I am imparting knowledge into you. Guides is like I'm helping you find your own knowledge.
It's similar.
Yeah.
I mean, we are the teachers in the classroom, and but Montessori, Dr. Maria Montessori stated that it is important for the child to find their way. And so that's where that guide definition came from, and facilitation.
But they shouldn't be misled into thinking that the child basically is running the whole show.
No, absolutely not.
I think a lot of people that only have a surface understanding of this type of education, this paradigm of education, think as kids say, I feel like coloring today. I don't feel like doing my numbers. Well, it's not quite like that.
It's not. Now, you may, as a parent, my children went to Montessori, and as a parent, it is a little bit like you're kind of wondering what they're doing and stuff, because if a child does come in and they do an art project all day long, that is okay. Because we know that the next day we will have another opportunity to support them in a different curricular area. Well,
but the bottom line is that what you tell your parents is you start here and you're going to end up here, but how they get to here is going to be...
It's not linear.
Yes, that's the word I was thinking. It's not going to be like a daily slog through the material like I taught,
Right.
When I was teaching juniors and seniors, I had AP tests and I had other tests, STAR tests, whatever, tax tests to be accountable to. And y'all don't really have that accountability being a private organization.
No, we will do, because of the vouchers, we will have to follow there will be a standardized assessment that we will have to do for third grade and up.
Right. But now you're not in the third grade.
We do not have any third graders right now, and the voucher system's not there yet. So we will, we'll cross that bridge when we get there next school year for sure. But to go back to your question about evaluation, the teachers are evaluating based on the child's developmental progress and support. And we have anecdotal notes that we provide the families, and then also a report of the different Montessori material lessons that the teachers and the children have completed. And that report is sent home to families to provide them with an understanding of where their child is at. So, and it is based on academics. So the lessons, for your 3-year-old might be that they can now count from 1 to 5, and both out loud and with objects. For your elementary students, we've been introducing North America and the animals that go with it. And so
that sounds like fun.
Yeah. And we've also been introducing, like with the weather, and we've been talking about weather and the changes in the weather. And so those are the types of things that you're going to have provided to you as a parent.
The parents, what are they looking for in a Montessori education? Because obviously, I don't know if dissatisfaction is a word I would use with the public system, but they must find something inadequate about it to be exploring your process. What are they looking for?
A lot of the time they're looking for compassion and support. They're looking for people who understand that their child and themselves have felt a calling to do school differently. and we support that.
Well, because I'm just wondering, when your kids age out of your program, will they continue this type of education in other facilities, or they go into the public systems?
So it really is a family decision. It is our goal to go all the way through 6th grade. And in fact, to go further than that. In fact, my future dream is that we will provide junior high and high school students with the opportunity to do internships with entrepreneurs and businesses in the area, where we can have apprenticeships and support them in figuring out what do they want to do when they grow up, right?
Those are big dreams, I could tell you. I mean, creating a new school from ground zero, I'm sure, has taken some of your time.
It does, yes.
And even at this, you say you have 14 students, hopefully up to 20. What's the maximum number?
We can have up to 50 in the building, and then we do have a gym that we have access to, and we can make work for an additional number of students when needed.
This is the Christian church on Johnson, right?
Yes. So First Christian Church Burleson, we're in their learning center.
So is it your hope, dream one day to have your own facility?
Yes.
Well, I don't have my wallet with me. Sorry. But here you go. Oh, here he goes. See, that's why Josh gets the big money. Look how on top of it is.
Yeah. So these are our updates from the fall. We raised almost $30,000 in donations, and those covered initial setup costs, building renovations, materials, marketing.
Yeah.
We started out with 7 initial students. 5 of those students are still with us. And we have, this says 13, but we did get a 14th one recently. We are hoping to start a half-day elementary program this spring. We're still working on building those inquiries for that. We had a pumpkin patch.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook. I saw it you put it on your social media.
Yes, this is going to become our big event for the year. And so we are currently starting to look for sponsors for that. We sold 800 pumpkins at a total of about $5,000 worth of pumpkins. So we'll be looking for sponsors that will help us match that, because you do have to send back their part of the proceeds. For their pumpkins. So
you're not growing them yourself?
No. It's with a farm that supports schools and does this through a fundraiser.
Well, if you ever get to the point, gardening is a great learning experience.
We do have a raised garden bed that we're starting.
Okay, because I got back into gardening just recently in the last couple of years, and I mean, I do vegetable gardening. My wife does the gardening for flowers and pretty stuff. I do the vegetables and all this, and
wonderful.
It is a great learning experience for young kids. I was taught things about gardening when I was a little kid by my dad, and so I just think that that'd be a really great project for somebody like a Montessori. I'm going to keep this up here, Josh, for just a minute, but I was going to ask you, the parents of these kids, they understand that there's going to be more asked of them than maybe a lot of other schools ask of their parents. That's an agreement you probably have to make with them, like, hey, we expect you to be involved in your child's education and not just a passive observer, right?
Absolutely, yes. And our families are all very supportive and have helped us with our initiatives, and definitely the pumpkin patch. We had volunteers that came out and supported us through that, and then of course purchasing pumpkins. Now,
the kids that come to your program are I know you probably accept all, but are they typically either talented and gifted or have learning disabilities?
We really have a wide range of abilities. We support all students, like you said, and but yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, because when I think of Montessori education, the way you're describing it, there's a great deal of agency is the word that youth use. I don't like to use that word. I mean, but they have a lot of latitude. And that was very much a descriptor of talented and gifted when I was teaching. Way back in the day, talented and gifted was the norm. And then it was at the high school level, it was replaced by advanced placement and dual enrollment and all that. But I had to be certified in talented and gifted. And one of the main core principles of talented and gifted was autonomy of the learner.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and so it's not, I would think that would be the kind of student you're attracting. But on the other hand, if you have a situation where your child has a learning disability, sometimes being in a class of 25 other howling
Right.
kids and one overstressed, harried teacher may not get the attention he or she needs.
Right, absolutely. So our elementary program is our new teacher starting. She is a Texas certified educator, bilingual certified, and special education certified. So she's taught both middle school and high school.
Really?
Yes.
And she's going down to the younger
Sixth
ages.
grade through, so she'll be teaching first grade through sixth grade at our school.
That's a jump.
So, and she's been supporting in the lower ages as well for several years. So she's well knowledgeable in supporting children of all learning needs.
Mm-hmm. I could see myself as a parent if I had a child that really the structured kind of formatted education may not be to their best advantage. I could see how Montessori would be advantageous.
Sure.
But I also would want them to be able to leave the third grade or fourth grade at that level,
Right.
And so, I guess it's just the old fashioned teacher in me. And most of my students will tell you, I tried to make it interesting, but it was still a daily push
Right.
through
Absolutely.
the material. And,
One thing to consider, and I've had to shift some of my own pedagogy knowledge and support, is that there's a difference in a private school education or even a homeschool education versus what our state is asking us to teach students. And so something to realize and understand is that Kindred is designed and developed to support the child and to be a beacon of hope for families. And so when it's a hard push to compare us to the public school education, where when someone is considering switching away from that, it's typically because there's a difference in opinion of what's expected and what should be expected from a child. And so will we prepare children for their future? Yes. Will it be something where you can take what the state of Texas says a third or fourth grader should know and will you be able to cross-check off every little thing? Probably not. Because again, we're a different pedagogy and a different environment. And our goal is to raise up children who are supported and motivated and knowledgeable about life and experiences and support and academics.
But this being your first year, you probably don't have the data, so to speak, to say how well your kids have done in other educational settings, but you will in a few years.
Sure.
And
Yes.
and it'd be interesting to know after they leave your program and they go into
Yes.
to a more structured, I guess. I wonder how well they adjust. I don't think they'll have a problem academically. I think that, but I remember my son went from a very small private school, Holy Cross, okay, at Kerr Middle School, where he had 6 times the number of kids in his Texas history class, and he had his entire 5th grade class the year prior. And there were some adjustments, that he had to make and that kind of thing. But I just would be interested in wondering, once they leave your program,
I would love to be able to inform the public of that in a couple of years.
Yeah, well, it's going to take a few years to get an alumni class, so to speak. What happens with me quite often with some of my former students, I'll encounter them at the store or at other events or whatever else, and I know their kids say, "Hey, what school is your kid going to?" Well, we homeschool, and they're kind of embarrassed to tell me that because they don't want to hurt my feelings. My feelings aren't hurt because homeschooling has made tremendous strides in the last 20 years. Is it the best educational program? It may be for that kid, and that's kind of how I look at Montessori. Some kids, they're self-disciplined. They can handle, a large crowd, so to speak. They can go through the grades over at Branson Elementary and just do just fine, but not all kids can do that.
Right.
But in my day, all kids were required to do that. And if you didn't conform to that, you were going to be held back, or you wouldn't be seen as good a student as you probably could have been, and that kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, I grew up in a generation where the use of television in the classroom was seen as, groundbreaking educational strategy, that kind of thing. But it was just that, but we were, it's fourth grade, you do these. And in the fifth grade, you do these, right? And you just move up. And then at the end of that, they give you a piece of paper, so they'll beat it. So,
Yeah.
There's a lot more opportunities out there. And I guess if I had young children, I might be more inclined to explore these. But my main concern is, will my child maintain an appropriate pace for
Yes.
him or her to survive, if nothing else, this crazy world we live in?
Absolutely. I completely understand the desire to know that. And one of the things that myself as the founder and head of school is hoping to do is to support those needs through the people that join us as staff members and employers, but as or employees, but also through the different positions and support that we have available.
Right.
So that it's not just myself, being accountable to so much of the work that's required. I think that with an endeavor like this, it's really important to have support. And so, and being able to foundationally provide those, that information to families, it will become even stronger as we grow.
I have to empathize with the conflicting stresses of my fellow teachers because I felt this as well. Because most of the teachers I knew got into the profession and they wanted to be creative and do things, particularly those in history and English and things like that. The science and math people, well, that's a different breed. But but they all wanted to be creative. They all wanted to do things differently. But they are also having to pass that STAR test, or that tax test, or that AP test, or all these other objective concerns that they had to make sure all the kids are adequate in. So the ability of teachers basically to do what you're doing was very difficult. Second, another obstacle was we don't have classes of 12 to 15 that you can work with. I mean, we had classes of 28 and 30 in high school, some bigger. And so you're talking about barely organized chaos sometimes. So sometimes that industrial size fits all kind of thing was the only way to maintain some sort of environment in which anything could be done.
Yeah.
People, I've taught at both the private and the public. I taught 3 years at a private school. And I personally think the public schools had more to offer. And I had just as good students, if not better, at the public schools as I did the private. But the two things that the privates had to their advantage of smaller classes and tighter discipline.
Sure.
And that really made a difference. And I wish you could apply private school environment to a public school situation. Because I know Burleson High School offered so many more things than the school I taught at in the private sector.
Sure.
All these AP and dual enrollments and foreign languages and on and on and on, right?
Right.
But to do it in a creative manner, it's almost like a lot of teachers were afraid that they were like going to be open up Pandora's box, kind of thing. Okay,
right.
We're going to do something creative. And then 10 minutes later, it's chaos.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. That's just, I understand why schools like yours exist, and I'm glad they do. I just wish those kind of advantages could also be had by all the educational facilities.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason for the vouchers that are coming up. I think that the hope and the goal is to create more environments like mine that can provide more educational opportunities to support the students that are attending there.
But you don't get any public money, do you?
Not right now, no.
Okay, it's possible you might, but as far as the vouchers, a lot of people think that you'd get the money. It's the parents are getting the money for the vouchers.
So the way the voucher program works is that the schools apply to the program through Odyssey, and then the parents apply for the program through the vendor Odyssey. And once so the parents are not getting the money like into their bank account.
No.
It's a like transition into the vendor that they choose. So the state of Texas, or the Odyssey really, is going to send what is needed to the vendor.
Right. But it's not, but I think a lot of people think you're just going to get a check from Greg Abbott next year, and it's not how it works.
No. I have to apply to be a vendor, and I have to follow certain criteria and guidelines to become one. And then the families are the same way. There's an application process to be a part of the voucher program. And actually, those applications start going out February 4th. Families can start applying for the vouchers, and it's pre-K all the way through.
Well, I could tell you, your system, I think, is going to be more of the wave of the future for a lot of parents now that this is, to some degree, less financially burdensome. Because, I mean, you do charge tuition. And,
yes.
And as far as the cost, and if you're interested out there in vast listening audience land, talk to her directly. We don't go over numbers on the air, but for various reasons. But the point is that, being a nonprofit, that's one thing, but you do charge tuition.
Yes.
All right. Being at First Christian Church may give you a Christian atmosphere, but this is not a church related school.
No, we're not we're not religiously affiliated, and we do not have a Christian Bible based. We don't have a Bible based curriculum.
Now, let me hasten to say that's not to say you're hostile to it. It just this is not though a Christian based school. It's
Correct.
A school in a Christian environment. Maybe the parents and the students and the teachers may have faith and all that. I know you are a woman of faith, but we
are open and inviting to all.
Right. So it doesn't mean you have to be of a certain religious persuasion to join your school.
Correct.
Well, when I was at Southwest Christian, we had 2 or 3 I knew that weren't Christian at his school. So I'd ask them, why are you here? Nicely, why would you choose this? And it's because their grandmother made them do it, or because they wanted to play ball, or it was close, or whatever the reasons were.
Sure.
When I was at Baylor, I remember I had this agnostic friend. I said, what are you doing here then? Well, I like the medical school.
Right. Yeah.
So,
people choose things for various reasons.
Yeah. So, but I just want to stress that point because people say, oh, wait, it's at a church. Is this like Holy Cross, which does have a biblically based curriculum? I said, well, no, but don't get the idea that they're also going to be restrictive
Correct.
of that as well. I mean, you're going to you be as faithful to the gospel as you want to be.
Yes.
And that's great. All right. But anyway, as far as yourself, though, because I'm sure when people come and they ask about you, right? Because you run the show. What are your credentials? What do you tell them?
Yeah, so I'm a 15-year veteran teacher. I taught in public school in the area. I have credentials in Montessori. I'm an early childhood credentialed teacher. So that means that I have a certification to teach 3 to 6-year-olds in the Montessori environment. And then I also have a master's degree.
From where?
St. Catherine's University.
Where would that be?
Minnesota.
Okay. She says, I don't know that would be a Texas school.
It's not, no.
Are you from Minnesota?
No, I'm not. They had a virtual program, and it was a Montessori geared master's, and so that's why I chose
given
them.
What's going on up there, I wouldn't claim to be from Minnesota either.
No, I'm Texas born and raised for sure.
Well, so this must have been something must have triggered you want to do this. And I know the story somewhat because we've met before. Prior to you ever come on the show. But maybe the audience would like to know what motivated you to create your own school.
Yeah. So my own personal children are 3 very different kiddos who, structurally they need different things in environments. And I have both a gifted child who also has learning differences and a child with learning differences, and another one who is a product of COVID and needs additional support in the classroom. And as a teacher, I always felt like I was called to do more, and I would do more and continue to do more. And when the bar continues to be set higher and higher and higher, and you feel like it's out of reach and out of place, it creates it makes it to where you don't feel like you're meeting the expectations.
Oh, I'm very familiar with that emotion. I remember in my latter days in the public system, teachers my age and experience level, we would sometimes get together, drink coffee and bellyache, which teachers do a lot of. And we kind of would daydream. Wouldn't it be nice if we had our own school? You could teach this, you could teach that, I'll teach this, and we could teach material to students who wanted to learn. All right. I consider myself a pretty successful teacher, not because I was so dang smart and all that. I was successful primarily because the students let me teach. All right.
Right.
I had the kind of students who were willing to learn.
Yeah.
That was my biggest reason. I think I would tell anybody if I said, "Did you feel like you were successful?" And I'd say yes, but it wasn't something natural. It was because I had students willing to learn and be taught. And that's what this looks like. Well, from this angle, what Montessori looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for myself, I wanted to create an environment where families felt supported. Like in my experience, I had to advocate for my own children and for the children in my classroom. And sometimes it felt like there was a lot of red tape and it was hard to get around. And that was difficult for me as a parent and as an educator. And so, it is my goal that families come to Kindred knowing that they're supported and that we are going to sit down at the table and do whatever it is that we need to do to make sure that their child is as successful as they can be. The families are encouraged to come. They're encouraged to be volunteers and to support the classrooms and to provide us with all the information that we need to be able to help them educate their children.
Well, and when I look back at my career, the 3 years I spent in the private school were kind of a blip to me. I mean, my memories and my what I draw on when I have these conversations is the public career I had at Burleson High School. And I am concerned about the state of public education in Texas for various reasons. And I don't look at Montessori or homeschooling or this as opponents, but as alternatives that parents are looking at. They shouldn't view Montessori education in your academy or homeschooling or Holy Cross as competing or taken away from the public sector. But I do have concerns about the public school system, and a lot of it has to do with money, of course. But another one has to do with, from what I hear, it's been 10 years since I've been a high school teacher. If I want to hear discipline and whatnot are by the boards. And you can't teach in an undisciplined environment.
Right.
And that's a big concern of mine. I've always thought the biggest problem the public schools had was when you have a class of 32, all it takes is 2 or 3 knuckleheads to keep that class in total turmoil.
Right.
And it's the same way in elementary.
Absolutely, yeah.
You got a problem child in the 3rd grade, that one kid's getting 90% of the attention while the other 22 or 3 are kind of left on their own. There has to be something to be done about this situation. The curriculum that BHS has and the teachers they have are solid. We put kids in all the colleges you can think of.
Absolutely.
But it just, for a lot of parents, they look on that environment of chaos and of, their kid has special interests or needs and they're getting ignored because that teacher has to deal with the knuckleheads the whole time. That's what I think what most of the parents who go to homeschooling tell me why they do it. And that they want to do a faith-based type education, which is great too. I mean, which you shouldn't and can't provide in public schools.
Right, absolutely. Well, and that's where our half-day elementary program is coming into play to support families that are currently homeschooling. So as I talk to families in the area, a lot of the time they struggle with one or the other, math or language, or sometimes it's science or things like that. So our program at Kindred, the half-day elementary program, is designed to support those families that are wanting to have the freedom and flexibility of being a homeschool family, but need support from trained curriculum teachers to provide their children with the academics that maybe they're not quite as comfortable teaching.
You kind of segue a bit. You also mentioned you have a need for a new board. Am I correct?
I do, yes.
Do you have that slide, Josh, somewhere floating around?
Yeah, right there.
There it is. See, he's so good. All right. So what would these board positions require of any volunteer?
Yeah, so we have quarterly meetings where I myself present to the board where we're at, what our finances look like, what are our current and future plans, and where are we going from in the future. Right now, the positions are a lot of like supporting me. So for instance, I went to the nonprofit luncheon last week, and
Just speed dating.
yes, yes, and many of the nonprofits in the area, they already know what their spring semester calendar looks like, right? Their events and what are they doing, and because I am acting as the executive director and the fount and the I wear all the hats, the administrator and everything. It's hard for me to develop our presence in the community in the way that I would like to.
Yeah.
And so these volunteer positions really are a request from myself to get to find people who are strongly proponents for alternative education and for children, and who would like to come alongside me and support in developing this nonprofit and developing our mission and becoming a strong supporter of the community.
Well, how does one apply for that? Just call you?
You can call me. You can email me, Sarah@kindredmontessoriacademy.org. Our phone number is 682-255-5492. And then you can find us on Facebook as well. But we would love to talk to people who have nonprofit experience, who can help us understand the ins and outs of it and make sure that we're following those practical things. What
kind of time commitment would this require?
It's really based on the individual and, what they're looking for in a volunteer role. We aren't asking for even like weekly things right now. It's more, we do have, like I said, quarterly meetings, and then it just depends on what you're looking for. The volunteer executive director might spend a little bit more time with me and because I would ask them to become more of a spokesperson for us and in the community and help me build relationships like this with with you, Brad, and helping.
We'll have you on again. That'd be great.
Right. And then, a board treasurer would need to meet with me periodically so we can talk about the finances of the school and making sure that we're following the nonprofit guidelines that are set. And then the president really is supporting the vision and the mission and building those relationships.
Well, it's interesting because what you described, it was interesting because I had a conversation with a relative of mine. I don't want to get too specific, but they don't live in this state. But their daughters, his daughters, are going through a program, particularly his older daughter, where they spend like 4 to 5 hours on a Chromebook. And he's very dissatisfied with that. But they don't have Montessori school where he lives.
Gotcha.
Okay. I mean, he doesn't live out in the woods somewhere, but it's a smaller community. But they don't have that. And they don't have the other private school options either. And so his daughter, who is very bright, is basically just grinding through material on a Chromebook, and the teachers there are just kind of there to make sure they kind of keep pace.
Right.
And he's like, this isn't what I want for my kids at all. Particularly the younger daughter has a lot of artistic and she's really, really young, but she's already shown an aptitude for dance and artistic endeavors. And that's not going to be encouraged at all in this type of program. And the older daughter is very bright, and she just basically just going through the
motions,
grinding through, right? So I'm glad you have this program out there. I really am, because a lot of these kids, because of either financial situations with the state or with the numbers or whatever, we can't continue with this industrialized grinding through the material, move them up to the next grade. And that's why so many people are dropping out, of the system and pursuing yours or other alternative type programs. And I really am concerned about the public schools. I believe in public schools, and almost every private school teacher I've ever met, and even the homeschooling parents support the concept of public schools.
Absolutely.
But they're just concerned about where they are, and they don't want their kids to be caught in the backwash.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where you come in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you got a couple of minutes. I want you to finish this off and tell us what we need to know about Kindred Montessori Academy.
Yeah. So we're just, we have a visit this Friday from an accreditation company called Middle States Association. And they are one of the one of the companies that have developed a program for micro schools like ours so that we can become accredited. It is one of the requirements of being a school that is approved to accept vouchers. And so this coming Friday, we have a virtual visit with them. And I've gone through a self-study program where we dove into our curriculum and our philosophy, our pedagogy, our finances. And it's been a strong supporter of figuring out like where do we want to go and how can we develop our school to be a strong support in the community. And so that's this Friday. And then we all have several events coming up. I'll be at the Great Give Back, with the Burleson Public Library. I'll be promoting our board positions there. And then we're working with the Texas Education, the private school associations in the area to be vendors at their events and to promote our school.
And not all the kids come from Burleson, right?
No, not at all. We have children from Crowley and Fort Worth and other areas.
I was going to suggest if you ought to hit the operator of the Crowley and Burleson farmers markets. You don't.
Yeah.
Chas Forster. No, he won't guarantee you a spot every week, but I think he maybe 1 week. I know he makes room like for a couple of nonprofits per week, and they kind of rotate. So, I don't know what he charges. I have no idea what the arrangements are, but I do know that it's
the
possible.
Burleson one is extremely full right now.
Yes,
so,
I know. They get backlogged, but the Crowley one is on Sundays. I don't know if that makes any difference.
I don't know either. I think I need to go back and check. I think I'm an approved vendor for the Crowley one.
Oh, good. Okay. And that's a good place to do it. And of course, Chamber of Commerce has nonprofit spots.
Love our events.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
absolutely.
And I know they have one a week from tomorrow over the Texas Brewery, Texas Bar and Brewery, their network at night. And then a week from
Business Over Breakfast.
Yeah, Breakfast Over Breakfast, which is a week from tomorrow also. I think I got the
We are going to be at the business showcase.
Oh, okay. Yep. I was just reading that. Yeah, business showcase. My B&I group will be there, so I'll see you there.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we do it for our networking group there. And if we want to do it individually or for our own businesses, we need our own setup.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow we're going to talk to Otto, and I hope he was listening. We want pizza.
Their pizza is good.
You're darn tootin'. Yeah, it really is good. And, people say, you just say that because he pays you to do it. No, I like the pizza. I mean, really do. And then Thursday, I'm going to have the Center for ASD on. He may be familiar with Lisa Bolton House.
Yeah, we partnered with them with the Pumpkin Patch.
Right.
We enjoy our partnership with them.
Yeah, and they're going to be here Thursday with their events. Next week, I'm wide open. I don't know if I have a guest. I guess after that, a couple of weeks after that, but I don't have one next week. So I may be just ranting and raving about the current events of the world. Have any suggestions?
There you go. You might have to have some weather talk.
Okay. I was thinking about yelling and hollering about foreign affairs, but I'll wait to see what happens. Josh, thank you for your skill and talent on the keyboards.
Anytime.
And we will see y'all tomorrow at this time, 11 o'clock. Thanks
so much. Thank you.